Hi, everyone. Welcome to Naturally Immune for Life. Thank you for joining me today. And a special thank you to my dear friends who have been with me, some of them for coming up on at least 15 years, I'm guessing. 15, 20 years maybe. But I really, really needed um, help fulfilling my Amazon affiliate quota. Because my account was at risk, I just joined it again, and apparently I needed 3 sales within a certain number of days and wasn't really paying attention or too concerned about it. Didn't actually realize there was such a thing, but in the process of rebuilding my various websites and transferring them to another server and all that, time was wasted. So I truly thank you, dear friends, for saving my account for me. And it wasn't really my intention to redo my affiliate on this site, but that this site was where I knew I could count on my friends. Put it that way. Okay, so here we go. Gut health and autism. Now, I generally do not cover this topic because I prefer adults. Um, it's just easier and it avoids any um, issues with authorities and advice and health advice and medical advice. So, but nevertheless, all I'm doing is reading a pilot study here. And I would just like to say personally, for me, when I discovered natural oral immune therapy and GCMAF and MAF, um, it was because of autism. And I realized, like they did, that autism and autoimmune have very much in common. So when I followed them, and that includes the Japanese, who I believe have an autism rate approaching 70%. I think the last time I looked, it was around 60 something percent, and that was probably 5 years ago or more. And yeah, they have a serious problem. So, this is one reason why the Japanese, the Italians, and just following these particular doctors led me to or natural oral immune therapy. And another exciting thing with the Japanese, they just released some results where they actually lengthened telomeres in aging mice with, I think it's 4th generation GCMAF. And that is pretty astounding. And what else? Telomeres. Okay, that's all I can remember at the moment. Oh, a little snippet from here is taken from the Italians, and that was in MAF, GCMAF, and tumor reduction. So, gut health and autism. Over half of all children with autism spectrum disorders experience gastrointestinal problems such as chronic constipation, diarrhea, and IBS. The severity of these symptoms has been linked to imbalances in gut bacteria known as dysbiosis. And by the way, this study was from 2019. And up until now, we've been looking at the addition of B. infantis to therapeutic foods in children with malnutrition. And now this is the first one. This is how I ran across it. This is the first one that actually is using Bifido and colostrum. As I said before, those other studies were missing the colostrum, and this one is adding the colostrum. This study aimed to determine if a probiotic, B. infantis, combined with bovine colostrum product could be tolerated with children with ASD and GI issues, and whether it would influence gut health, microbiota balance, and immune markers. This is just a pilot, but it was randomized, double-blind, and controlled. 8 children aged 2 to 11 with both ASD and GI symptoms participated. The study followed a crossover design. Patients received 5 weeks of combination treatment, colostrum and B. infantis, a 2-week break, and then 5 weeks of bovine colostrum product alone. Tolerability was assessed using behavior and GI function questionnaires, and biological samples were used to study microbiome and immune changes. The results showed the treatment was well tolerated, with mild gassiness as the common side effect. That's to be expected. That's generally what colostrum does. It cleans the infant out, and what's the name of that stuff? Meconium, I believe. Helps them eliminate that, and that's pretty common. So some children showed improvement, and it goes away in a short time. 10 days, 2 weeks tops, probably, depending on how bad your situation is. Some children showed improvement in both GI symptoms and behavior. These changes may relate to a reduction in immune markers like IL-13 and TNF-A. More research is needed, of course. So the gut-brain connection in autism spectrum disorder is a complex developmental condition that affects communication, behavior, and social interaction. In addition to core behavioral symptoms, many children with ASD struggle with gastrointestinal issues such as chronic constipation, diarrhea, bloating, and abdominal pain. In fact, more than 50% of children are affected by these problems at rates far higher than in children without autism. Research suggests that these GI issues may be linked to dysbiosis. And although no single pattern defines dysbiosis, studies have shown that children often have fewer beneficial bacteria like Bifido and Akkermansia, and that is a mirror of the last week's posts, and more potentially harmful types such as Clostridia. Some also show altered ratio of firmicutes to bacteroids and increased levels of proteobacteria, a group linked to inflammation. These imbalances are not only associated with GI distress, but also with mood and behavior. Children with more severe dysbiosis tend to show greater anxiety, irritability, and social withdrawal. The severity of microbial disruption has been directly correlated with GI symptoms and autism symptom intensity in several studies. Immune involvement in GI symptoms. Beyond the microbial changes, many children with autism and GI symptoms also show signs of gut immune dysfunction. Their immune systems may overreact to harmless food particles or beneficial bacteria, triggering chronic inflammation and weakening the protective barriers of the gut lining. This immune activity is often marked by increased pro-inflammatory markers like TNF-A and IL-6 and reduced regulatory cytokines like IL-10. Physical changes in the gut have also been observed, including lymphoid hyperplasia, enlarged immune tissues, and increased T cell activity in the intestinal lining. These findings suggest that the immune system of some children with autism may be in a state of chronic imbalance, which could further aggravate both digestive and behavioral symptoms. The role of diet, breastfeeding, and beneficial bacteria. Diet plays a critical role in shaping the gut microbiota, and children with autism often face challenges in this area. Many eat limited diets and consume less than half the recommended daily fiber intake. In addition, fewer are breastfed for the full recommended duration, and some miss earlier exposure to colostrum, the nutrient-rich first milk produced after childbirth. Colostrum in breast milk contain oleosaccharides, complex sugars that nourish specific beneficial bacteria like Bifidobacterium, subspecies B. infantis. This strain is especially important in early life and has been shown to strengthen the gut lining, lower inflammation, and block harmful microbes from growing. Bovine colostrum, the first milk from cows, shares many of these beneficial components. It contains smaller amounts of oleosaccharides, as well as immune active proteins like lactoferrin, immunoglobulins, and cytokines. These substances resist digestion, remain active in the gut, and help modulate both the microbiota and the immune system. Some of these immune proteins are heavily glycosylated, meaning they have sugar chains that can serve as prebiotic fuel for good bacteria. The idea behind combining B. infantis with bovine colostrum is to support a healthy microbiome in multiple ways. Colostrum provides the immune support and nutrients that help B. infantis thrive, while the probiotic strengthens the gut barrier and helps balance immune responses. Together, they may correct dysbiosis, calm inflammation, and support better GI and behavioral outcomes in children with ASD. However, before this hypothesis can be tested in large clinical trials, researchers need to first answer whether this combination is safe and tolerable in these children. And of course it is. Again, bovine colostrum is considered a universal donor. Lactose intolerance can generally be overcome, and most people can still tolerate at least 250 milliliters. And why I'm saying that is because at the end here, I'm going to explain why you need colostrum in whole fat mammal milk. And kefir is also an additional helpful item because of the friendly yeast. So this pilot study and key findings in this 12-week randomized double-blind crossover pilot study, 8 children were enrolled, and the primary goal was to assess tolerability. Some participants exhibited behavioral improvements, but again, it was only 12-week. 12-week is 3 months. Generally, according to the experts of MAO, you are going to take 4 to 6 months just to improve your gut. And that's the average. And you're going to go on for a lot longer than that if you have a lot of other things going on. We're looking at anywhere from 12 to 18 to 24 months. And reminder, that is optimal breastfeeding duration. So conclusion, promising first steps. Children with ASD and gastrointestinal symptoms tend to experience gut immune dysfunction and bacterial dysbiosis. This pilot study suggests the bovine colostrum is well tolerated, both when used alone and in combination with the probiotic infantis. More importantly, some participants experienced improvement in chronic GI symptoms that had not responded to other common treatment approaches. Although this sample size was small and participant symptoms varied widely, limited number of mild side effects, along with early signs of symptom relief, are encouraging. These findings support the need for larger, well-controlled studies, but for now, this study offers a hopeful glimpse into a new approach to managing gut-brain health challenges seen in autism and highlights the growing importance of gut health in developmental disorders. So, okay, bovine colostrum enhances commensal bacteria adherence 52-fold. And we are specifically talking about Bifido here. So probiotics need to be delivered to the body within a living culture to be fully effective. Swallowing a capsule of freeze-dried probiotics might make a small positive difference, but will have nowhere near the impact of the same probiotics being consumed within a medium in which they are actively functioning. Colostrum, which self-contains the active molecules of natural D2 and 3, chondroitin sulfate, and oleic acid, as does whole-fat mammal milk. While colostrum does not ferment, milk sugar does, and the gastrointestinal tract starts to act as a mini bioreactor. Without recourse of dairy products, microbes metabolize chondroitin to make oleosaccharides necessary for bifido attachment to immune receptors, which in turn regulate the newborn infant's immune system and ensure immediate and future homeostasis, which then stimulate macrophages, which then carry microbes through to the brain. So human HT29 intestinal cells were treated with a bovine colostrum fraction rich in free oleosaccharides. Results showed up to a 52-fold increase in adherence across several commensal strains, mainly Bifido, spanning species found throughout the human lifespan. Importantly, the adherence of intestinal pathogens did not increase, and gene expression profiling revealed upregulation of glycosylation-related genes, suggesting that BCF modifies the intestinal cell surface to favor beneficial bacteria. So that's just one more factor of how the above study was achieving the results, even though these are two different studies, although both are from 2019. So why this matters? It supports the idea that bovine colostrum can act as a functional prebiotic, enhancing colonization of health-promoting bacteria. But in addition to that, colostrum does so much more. It's a living immune system with living cells, and you can find that throughout my site because I don't have it on this particular page. So what you can do in addition to natural oral immune therapy, again, you can flush out the bad bacteria and specific toxins faster with beneficial yeasts like Florastor. And then you can go on to read how that works. Florastor works specifically as a friendly yeast. You can combine that, or you can begin with that before starting, flush out the bad, and then begin rebuilding the good. But again, probiotics work better consumed within a medium in which they are actively functioning. And that would be all fat mammal milk, providing the lactose. Lactose, again, on its own is a very important thing, and maybe I'll cover that at some point too. But okay, everyone, that's it for this week. And again, to my dear friends and whoever else was the first one that clicked on a link and ordered, I'm not quite sure where they came from, but I thank you as well. And I'll see you next time. Have a great day and a great week. Bye.